generous. And then the Quran follows the exact same formula down to the T in Surah 19, but it diverges at the end, where it says Mary went to labor like under a palm tree, or Jesus was born under a
Actually,
palm tree, and she got like dates and stuff. Yeah. So
I don't
you
know
can
if
find the
the
exact same formula between Luke 1 and Surah 19. If you put them side by side, they're literally synoptic.
we would have to look into the diatessaron if it also follows the exact same formula, because it's
It
more
does.
likely that, yeah, that's why I'm saying it, because it's more likely that the early Muslim community would have had access to the diatessaron than to the New Testament as we know it today,
Yeah, that's my opinion.
especially in this area.
I'm pulling up the Diatessaron because I'm pretty sure it follows the exact same formology of Luke 1, but like Luke 1's not an eye like Luke was not an eyewitness, and the Quran and the Gospel of Luke retell the exact same account. So even if Luke isn't an eyewitness, he clearly had access to eyewitness information. And I'm not trying to appeal to the Quran to prove the Bible. I'm just saying, like, from your point of view, you would have to affirm that there is eyewitness
Well,
testimony, or at least
I can
accurate
tell you,
testimony.
I can tell you the opinion of our scholars. Personally, I haven't like researched heavily on this concept, but I can tell you what our scholars say. So they say that Jesus first preached the gospel, which is oral revelation. Then later, like years later, when he died or he was risen to the heavens, the apostles started writing what they remembered from what he said. That's what our scholars say. So they say we can't take it literally what they said, because it's all what they could remember from it, but not the original message.
I've
That's their
heard,
point of view.
okay, well, I mean, what I've heard is, if something contradicts the Quran, you can just kind of throw it away. But if something's neutral, as in there's no like you don't know whether it, contradicts the Quran or not, because even if like the Bible gives a different ruling than the Quran, that doesn't automatically mean it contradicts, because the Quran's like the final revelation. So you can have prior revelation that says something different. That's just abrogation of revelation. That'll be like the Islamic concept. It's called like abrogation. So if something doesn't contradict, they just say, "Oh well, you can take it or leave it," but
Yeah, yeah.
you're
So
not supposed
there's
to
a
mock
verse.
it or anything like that, because it could be
Yeah,
revelation. You don't want to mock potential revelation.
exactly. Yeah, we believe there's some truth in the Bible, especially like in the Torah and the Gospels, not necessarily in the other books. So we believe there's truth in them. So we can't mock them. We just know that this wasn't the original message that was revealed, or that's what our scholars say. Like,
So if you have any more questions, because I kind of yapped a little too much, I'm just looking up the Diatessaron's Diatessaron stuff. I'm looking for Luke 1 in the Diatessaron. But y'all can talk. Yep, Luke 1's in the Diatessaron. I'm reading it now. It's literally the first chapter of the Diatessaron's. The first chapter of the Diatessaron's mostly the Gospel of John plus Luke.
yeah,
Mm. If you want a copy of the Diatessaron, I can send it to you and you can look at the.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is but this is my PDF of the Diatessaron. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. Someone else can talk to him unless he wants to talk to me. I don't want to
Nah,
take
man,
over the
you
debate.
speak, bro. You speak, bro. I'm doing
I
something
don't
important.
want to take over the debate.
Speak,
I mean, he can
Moon.
ask questions. How
Speak.
about he asks his questions? Y'all need help? Come tag me. I'm sitting on the
Alright,
sidelines.
JC, you got it then, bro, because I'm busy at the moment.
Okay. Any more questions?
Pass it along. Pass it along.
There are questions though about in the Gospel of Mark.
Which one? Or not which one?
Or
Like which verse, chapter?
wait, just let me get the exact verse. I forgot it. Oh yeah, so in Mark 1:2.
Let me go to it. I have the first chapter of Matthew memorized, but not the first chapter of Mark. All right, go ahead. What is it?
So it quotes Isaiah, right? The prophet.
I believe it's Isaiah.
Yeah, so Mark is saying that he quotes Isaiah, which is the prophecy Isaiah did.
Yeah.
My point is actually it was mentioned in Malachi 3:1.
Malachi
So
and Isaiah repeat the same
yeah,
prophecy. If you go to
yeah, I mean,
Malachi 3:1, you go to Isaiah 43. It's the same prophecy.
let me check it. Isaiah 43.
I think I know. Are you about to say it's attributed to the wrong person? Maybe.
No, I'm saying like why he said that it was written by Isaiah, but when I read it, it's actually in Malachi. So
Well,
I'm not
it's
sure.
also written by Isaiah. Because okay.
Yeah,
This is a concept in the biblical text. It's known as prophetical grouping, which pretty much what it is. Certain prophets existed at the same time, like Isaiah, Jeremiah, like Zechariah. Like certain groups of prophets existed at the same time, and they were given the same revelation, as in they all saw the same thing. So, and then you have the differentiation between the major and the minor prophets. Now, a major and a minor prophet doesn't mean, well, the major is more important. A major is the prophecy who their prophecy is more known. So if Isaiah, so like oftentimes what the gospel authors will do, they will attribute a prophecy, and like let's say the prophecy of Babylon's destruction. They'll attribute it to Jeremiah. Like they'll generally attribute that prophecy to Jeremiah, even though they're also aware in other passages that multiple prophets had the vision of of Babylon coming against Israel, Palestine, whatever. I'm just gonna say is like ancient Israel, the biblical concept of Israel, for the sake of the debate, or not the debate, but the talk. So what they'll do is they'll attribute a prophecy to just like a major prophet, even though multiple people had the prophecy.
yeah, I see. Yeah,
So
I think it's also
Malachi,
mentioned in Isaiah 57:15. It's mentioned there. I just read it now.
it's 43, I think. So it was mentioned Isaiah and Malachi have the exact same prophecy. And Malachi was written later, I believe. So this prophecy originally comes from Isaiah. So whether Malachi got this prophecy as well, or if he's attributed, whether he's quoting it from Isaiah, Isaiah is considered the original source of the prophecy because he was the first major prophet to talk about it, and it's largely attributed to him. So one specific prophecies will get assigned to certain prophets, even though other prophets may have received them. Like both Jeremiah and Isaiah, they both get visions of the Babylonian captivity. But Jeremiah, like the entire book of Jeremiah, is solely about the Babylonian captivity and the false prophets that were there at the time. Captivity and the repair of the Babylonian captivity. So coming back from the Babylonian captivity is more attributed to Isaiah.
Yeah.
So that's that prophetic concept. I mean, some people also say Mark 1 and 2 is merging Malachi 3 and Isaiah 40 together because they're the same prophecy. You look at them side by side; they're synoptic.
Are you sure it's Isaiah 43? I think it's Isaiah 57. Like I'm reading it now.
No, it's Isaiah 43. It's Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3. Let me find it.
43:3. For I'm the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Gusha and Seba in your stead. I think 57. 57 says, build up, prepare the road, remove the obstacles.
No, 43. Regarding Mark, the two passages in question are Malachi chapter 3, 1, because it's the immediate start of the chapter. And then for Isaiah, it's Isaiah 40, verse 3 is where it starts. A voice of one calling in the wilderness, in the way, prepare for the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be raised, every mountain hill will be made low, and the rough ground shall become level. Okay, there we see. It's Isaiah 40.
Yeah, I saw it now. I was in the wrong verse.
Yeah, it's 43. I believe Isaiah was written before Malachi. Malachi came like a little bit after, because Malachi was writing after the Babylonian exile, whereas Isaiah is writing before the Babylonian exile. Isaiah is several centuries before the Babylonian exile.
Yeah. All right, that's good to know.
Any more questions?
Nothing in my mind right now.
All right, that's fine. If you have to go, that's fine. You want to chill in here, that's fine. I'm gonna play Resident Evil. I got a hangnail on my foot, it's driving me mad.
Right. You got any question, or is the collector? You got any question?
No, I'm fine. Oh, hold on. Okay. Malachi is the final book of the 12, i.e. the minor prophets. Malachi lived about 100 years after the Azraelites had been returned from the Babylonian exile. So yes, Malachi's quoting Isaiah. Or Malachi's making reference to Isaiah, because Isaiah, at least in the Christian and Jewish tradition, was written it was written way before Malachi. Like most secular critical scholars, what they do is they divide Isaiah into 3 categories. So they'll say, Isaiah chapter 1 through 40, at the very least, was written probably during the time of the exile. So even then, Isaiah, even the critical scholars, was written before Malachi, because it's written during the time of the exile, whereas Malachi is like 100 to 200 years after it. So this prophecy was originally spoken by Isaiah, and then Malachi either also got the prophecy or he's capitalizing on it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, this answered it.
Anyway, I'm gonna go get tea, and then I'm gonna come back and play
All right.
Resident Evil.
Would you like to have a fun topic, MH? I can discuss with you about women's rights. Sorry, women in general, and when it comes to Islam, that's a fun topic. Would you like to have that discussion?
Bro, the cool thing about women in Islam, you could put anything you want in the contract. So if I put in my contract, you have to take me out. You have to buy me 100 oranges a week every week, or I divorce you. He has to buy me 100 oranges a week, or I can choose to divorce him.
Yeah, the contract dictates everything.
Boy, I have a question, MH. I know people can't go forward on their contract, meaning like I can't, like say you've been married for 5 years, you can't suddenly make up a standard to put in the contract now. But can people go back on their contract?
Like, define what you mean go back.
Okay, so you know how, let's say you've been married for 5 years, you cannot suddenly add something to the contract. The most you can do is you can appeal to general Islamic law. Like for example, say like, you know, someone gets injured, or say they get cancer or something, and say they can't have sex anymore, or they just, you know, they're not interested, sex is just really bad for them because of whatever. I mean, they can just appeal to Islamic law at that point and say, well, I can't do this act anymore because I'm sick or something. Yeah, but can someone say, like, let's say someone has something in the contract, a woman writes in the contract, you have to do this for me. And let's say the man doesn't do this for her. Can she choose to just let that go, like by her own choice?
Yeah, of course, she can divorce it if it invalidates the contract, or she can let it go. It's her choice.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessitate. This is more so, I think the contract. So the contract is more so grounds to which I can validly divorce you, but I don't always have to act on them.
Yeah, you don't have to act on them. It's not like by the law. The Quran actually states that if they both agree on something, even if it's like not from the contract, if they all like, if they had a dispute and they all like or a fight, then they agreed on agreement. It's okay, even if it invalidates something in the contract, as long as they both like agree on something.
Can someone write in? Okay, like I know sex is like considered an obligation in Islamic marriage. Can someone write in conditions for that? Like if someone has a medical condition to where like they can still have sex, they would just prefer not to. Say someone gets migraines all the time. Can a woman write in her contract, I'm not obligated to give you sexual anything while I have a migraine? Or something like that.
If she's actually sick, she doesn't have to write it, because you don't have to.
Well, no, I'm saying in a case where she still technically can have sex, she would just really prefer not to, just because, like, you know, migraines cause extreme pain and discomfort. Can you write that in a contract?
Yeah, I guess if sex actually causes any type of harm, even if she can, but cause harm, they don't do it. Even like any mentally or physically harm, because actually the standard for sex, the Prophet said, was la darar wa la darar, which means no harm to be done for either or by either. So that's the only like factor taken into account.
Okay, that's fine.
But they can write it in the contract.
Yeah. I think the only blurry line is like with some medical conditions, it can make sex really annoying or uncomfortable, but like not impossible. Like, if you have a migraine, you can still technically have sex. You're just not likely to enjoy it or get anything out of it because, you have a migraine.
See.
But I
Yeah,
think even in that case, at the very least, I don't think in Islamic law it would be a sin for someone if sex caused them great discomfort, not pain, but discomfort. If they say no for that reason, I don't think that's a sin under Islamic law.
Yeah, it's not a sin. As I told you, the only factor taken is no harm to be done by either or to either. So if it causes any type of harm, whether it's mental, physical, it's not valid.
Yeah.
Of course, except in
Yeah.
Hanafi school. We knew the Hanafi school is wild.
Yeah, the Hanafis are wild. We don't go to the Hanafis. Yeah. I think that's kind of the concept. That's like the same concept in Christianity, I think. At least Catholicism. I can't speak for Orthodox. Well, MH, I have an interesting question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think the obligation of sex in marriage, at least in the West, has been stigmatized to be associated with abuse?
To a point, yeah, I think. I think the concept that there's obligation sometimes turn to abuse if the wife doesn't want it. I think it will always turn to.
Yeah.
What happens, yeah.
I think many people in the West associate. Well, I live in the West technically because of America, but there's a lot of attitudes in marriage to where I'm just like, what's the point of marriage anymore? Because there's a lot of people that believe, well, your spouse doesn't own you. They can't tell you what to do. You don't have to respect anything they say. So it's like, well, what's the point of getting married if there's no obligation? There's not even even an emotional obligation to each other. You can do whatever you want and just not care about the other person. What's the point of being married at that point?
Exactly, it could just be friends. But marriage is obligations and roles and benefits for both parts.
Yeah. They're yeah. I don't judge people, but I think oftentimes the obligations in marriage. I'm talking from the Christian view. We I would say the obligations in a Christian marriage or marriage in general. Oftentimes, I think since abusive people have used them in their abusive tactics, I don't think people automatically associate just the natural obligations of marriage as an abuse. When in of itself, it's not an abuse. It's just people abusing it for their abusive tendencies to get what they want, and then people now label that as abuse.
And do you actually have any text from Catholic sources that states the obligations?
The obligation is that it's actually in the letters of St. Paul, but St. John Paul II, he specifically says your spouse is owed, not a want. They are owed sexual satisfaction to what is reasonable, and then he goes on to clarify what reasonable means. Reasonable generally means what is able to their ability and what is doable. So a woman can't a man can't ask his wife, hey, have sex with me every single day, because that's not reasonable. That's exhausting. He's not gonna like it. But that's his view, and he also says it's the other person. I mean that's his view. So your spouse is owed sexual satisfaction, and it is a sin, I believe, to say no out of spite. I mean, spite is pretty much, oh, I'm angry at my husband or I'm angry at my wife. You can't say no out of spite. That's when they consider it sin. Just saying no for the sake of saying no. Catholic theology doesn't define that as a sin, but it is a sin to say no out of spite or to continuously deprive them without any given reason. It has to be continuous or out of spite.
So it's basically the same concept, yeah.
Yeah, I would say Islam's a little more extreme about it, but just because it's subjective, because it says when a man goes to bed angry at his wife over sexual stuff, that could vary by man. There's some men that will never be upset even if their wife always says no, and there's some men it's you tell them no once and they're upset. But I mean, at that point, that's a valid reason for divorce if your libidos are not matching up. I think that's a valid reason for divorce in Islam.
I don't think so. It's only in cases of cheating. Oh, I cheated, he cheated. Stuff like that.
I mean, well, the man can initiate divorce for that. I don't know about the woman, but if the guy has a very, very high sexual libido and the woman's libido is just lower, because women are generally lower, but let's say her libido is really low for a woman, like you might as well divorce at that point if that marriage isn't going to work out. Like husband wants sex a lot, wife's not really into it.
I agree, though. It will be like a frustrating life. Like they
Well,
don't
yeah,
come
at
back.
that point, I mean that's part of courtship. I don't know about Muslims, but you can divorce, but Catholic courtship doesn't really involve sexual stuff. It's not really under conversation until way later. But you know, if you have a really high libido, you don't want to marry someone that has like a really low libido, because there's men that have really low libidos and then women that have really high ones. Like in that case, it may not work out either.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's a guy called Not a Spy.
He's definitely a spy.
A spy. Anyway, that should help. If you want some Catholic sources on that, I can DM it to you. It's called they call it I think it's just called. There's a name for it in Catholic theology. What is it called? It's not
Which one?
marital obligation. One of the terms for it is marital obligation, but it has a specific name. I think it's called the marital dues, which is what your spouse is owed to, like the bare minimum you have to give your spouse.
It works
I
both
think
ways, from male to female and female to male.
yeah.
Both.
So like, there's generals that have to go both ways, like sexual stuff, and then there's like specifics. Like that's for like one set. Like men at least are required. The general rule is you're required. Of course, it's more heavy on men simply because for most of history, men were predominantly the ones with resources. But like the male in a Christian marriage, he's required to provide the safety aspect, i.e., a home. He has to provide his wife with adequate like clothing, food, medical care if necessary. And then I think the wife, she has to she has to also take care of her husband mentally, physically, sexually, like food, well, like prepare him food, support his life goal, like stuff like that. It's a little more harder on men, typically because the word husband literally means man that owns a house. So typically men provide like the protection and stuff, and like women create the home and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But women are also obligated to do it if there's a like if women are the more caretaking role. Like if the woman like owns the house and all the money and stuff, then like in that case she's obligated to provide her husband for a home if he doesn't have one. Like if he's homeless.
Well, if she's the one who like does the work, what will be his obligations?
He would husbands still have the obligation to work. So if a wife, say she's rich, or this isn't specifically specified. It just says like according to Thomas Aquinas and the other saints and the doctors of the church, the husband is to provide the protective aspect, which would include a home and like of course physical protection. So even if let's say the wife's the bread maker, she makes all the money and stuff, you're still required to provide her the emotional and like physical protective element. Even if you yourself are poor, you don't have money. But of course they a lot of these doctrines were founded prior to the modern era, where typically men were the sole, like the stronger providers, and where women would then reciprocate from that provision, i.e., making a home, taking care of them, and then potentially later children. That's the view of St. Thomas Aquinas.
By the way, you're a super janitor, right? Can you like add a role for me?
Well, wait. I don't know if I can add roles.
What do you want, bro?
Nathan, super janitors add
I
roles.
need
No.
Arabic speaking Christian.
Okay, bro.
Ah, that's a good role. Just do Arabic speaker. Or Arab Christian.
Where?
Arabic speaking
I've already
Christian.
got it. We've already got it.
Give it to him.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
where you from? Where you from, Canadian booze?
Lebanon.
It's a nest.
Lebanon. Bro, Lebanese people got the worst neighbors.
You tell me,
Yeah,
bro.
that's true.
We have
I can't
Syria, we have
imagine being beside like Israel, Palestine,
No,
Syria,
Israel is not that bad
Jordan.
actually. Israel is not the problem.
Yeah, but like if people are sending rockets and attacking Israel, like you're gonna get caught in the crossfire.
I
It,
mean, yeah, it's just our fault for not cleaning house.
yeah, it's your fault for being beside Israel. How dare you?
No, it's our fault for not cleaning house, like for not taking care of Hezbollah sooner and stuff like that.
You got the Shias in there. You're also right beside Syria, and Syria
Hezbollah
is
is
an awful
actually
place.
Shia, bro.
Bro, Syria is not a country. It's like anything goes. You know what I mean?
Syria is awful.
Yeah.
Actually, most Syrians live in Egypt or Syria or Lebanon or Turkey.
They leave
Yeah,
Syria.
Lebanon, Turkey, and Egypt. No, there
Yeah,
are no
they
much
live
Syrians in Syria.
some. Correct, that's correct. Some Syrians live in Lebanon. They go outside of Syria, bro. Nobody wants to be in Syria, especially the Christian Syrians.
Christian Syrian. That is rough.
I mean, they are still kind of the majority, maybe in like Christian Syrian areas, maybe.
Well, the Christians just I know like typically what like the Christians are like, not the Jews anymore because they just kind of went to Israel.
Oh,
Like the
they're not the
Christians,
majority.
yeah. Oh no, like the Christians will just like form their own specific areas. So like you'll have like a small village or an area that's like specifically Christian. They kind of stay away from the Muslim establishments.
Yeah, that's how it is, kind of. But the major cities in Lebanon are Christians.
Your connection's not private. I don't care.
Yo, is someone interested of debating the Muslim downstairs?
No, this is the same guy that told me Arius is a church father.
Yeah, okay, so he bugged you
Bro,
before.
This
I don't
guy's
want to
bugged
talk to
me
him,
all
bro.
the
He's
time. This guy's
sarcastic.
bugged me a few times.
Okay, so he is disrespectful, right? Like he has multiple personalities, he talks so fast, he doesn't want to listen.
I don't know
Am I
about multiple
wrong?
personalities, but
I don't want to talk to him. I lost my patience. Am I wrong? Or is he like
no,
that? Did I misjudge him?
no,
No, bro.
you did it, baller.
First impression, bro, he joined the call and he started being sarcastic to you.
Bro,
So this is the
bro,
first impression, bro, for
in
me.
the
It's a
Christian
red flag.
praise in the Christian Prince server, he came one time. There was no mod around. I was the only one in the server. He came. We started talking. He was disrespectful in the same way, and he was getting aggressive because when the mods are around, mitlil tutu like a chihuahua. But when he's alone with me or like someone else, he starts acting like a Rottweiler. I don't know why.
Yeah, bro. Did you see him like when he just joined us when you were talking and he started saying, yeah,
Yeah.
He
So I
has
told him, bro,
a,
I don't deal with pieces of shit like you. I didn't say that, but that's what I thought.
yeah, he has a big ego, bro. He thinks he's the smartest guy on planet Earth when he's the dumbest one, maybe.
Bro, drag it. Where'd this guy go? I'm not gonna drag him up here, but I had like one debate. It wasn't even a debate, but he told me no one before like the Council of Nicaea believed in the Trinity or Jesus' divinity. I'm like, okay, give me one, because he said church father specifically. So I said, okay, give me one church father. I sit in VC with this guy for like 30 minutes. And
Mhm.
then he finally comes back to me with a church father. And this guy tells me Arius, and like I'm just laughing behind the mic. I thought this guy was trolling. Like I thought this guy was a Christian pretending to be a Muslim, just going around embarrassing Muslims. But no, this guy's apparently Muslim, and he thinks Arius is in the Ebionites were a church father.
Bro, any claim that can prove him right, but doesn't associate with him, he's gonna blabber out. If you're uneducated, you'll like fall into this trap.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that guy.
thinks he's the smartest person on earth. That's what I said. He has a high ego. Like most of them are like this.